Welcome back to Keeping It Normal with Emily. Welcome to the shit show. I was not going to do video today. I was like, you know what? We're back on track. I think it's been 2 weeks since I've done an episode. And I was like, no, we are just going to not do video because can you see my background? I can't show you the whole basement right now, but my husband took a mini project and it is now a basement remodel. That's exaggerating only slightly. We wanted to put up shelves for my Lego collection and he built just a wall. He put up a wall and then he was like, wait, I have this vision of this whole thing. And he has built this entire like add-on beautiful enclosement cubby for the podcast for my little area down here. But because of that, I haven't been recording. And then today I was like, no, I need to get back on track. We have Jen Hamilton today. I love my sweet bunny, Jen. I love her so much. We're going to chat with her. And I was like, my basement is under construction, but I don't want to not do it. So here we are. That was a lot of rambling to say the amazing, wonderful, perfect Jen Hamilton is joining us today. And I'm going to talk to her, just get to know her. If you don't know her, you should. She is a labor and delivery nurse. She is a mom of two. She swaddles her chickens on the internet. She has gone through so many different avenues, and I just can't wait to talk to her and let you meet her. And she's also a hot mess like me. And that is why we have bonded and are friends. So everybody welcome Jen to the studio. So everybody welcome Jen Hamilton to the podcast.
Guys. Hello.
Jen. I miss you. I'm so glad you're here.
Me too. I'm so glad you reached out to me because my life has just been absolutely insane. And it's been too long because we used to do this all the time.
I know. We used to, well, we're going to get into that a little bit, but introduce yourself a little bit, who you are, what you're about.
So my name is Jen Hamilton. I am a nurse. I'm a labor and delivery nurse. I am married to a pretty cute guy. We have 2 pretty cute boys. I am an absolute hot mess. I'm actually wearing a shirt right now that says hot mess on it because
I love it.
That's who I am.
I love it.
But yeah, Emily and I kind of found each other from just being hot messes together on the interwebs.
Yeah.
Not giving a crap, 2 craps who saw us for who we are.
Yeah. We've ridden many waves together. There was Showergate. That was a big one.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
In which we discussed how we don't shower.
Yep.
We do, but
it's very infrequently.
So I found you on TikTok. That's how we became friends. Mm-hmm. But was that kind of your, like, when did you join TikTok? I asked this of everybody.
Yeah. So I joined it probably when everybody else did, when the world shut down,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have a friend, makes it sound like I'm not her friend anymore. I have a friend named Lauren and she was over at my house. We had dinner or something. She's like, are you on TikTok? And I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I assumed correctly that it would take too much of my time. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I am absolutely not going to download that app. But she kept sending me funny videos.
Yeah.
Cat videos, baby videos. And so she would send them to me. And if you don't have the app, like you can watch it, but it's so much better. Yeah. Yep. So one day I just downloaded it to like, just see. And I've been just seeing for the last 3 years. So.
Yeah. Well, now you're verified. Almost 3 million
bananas
followers, which is wild.
So wild. I can't even comprehend that in my brain. Like, I don't have 3 million of anything,
Yeah.
That's
a lot of people.
Probably. But yeah, it's a lot of people.
And what made you, well, okay, so why did you decide because I think we all started out like we're just watching and getting sucked into this to distract from the real world. But what made you like, oh, I'm going to post a video, and then like what made you go viral for the first time?
Oh, such a good question. So my very first video was just me seeing how to do it. Like, I'm like, what is this plus button at the bottom? What is
Yeah.
this about? My very first one that went viral, like over a
Yeah.
million, was, and I will tell the story here. So it was a
Yeah.
video about this story I'm about to tell. So I am a labor and delivery nurse now, but my original nursing was emergency room nursing. I loved
Yeah.
it so much. I think it's like the drama of it all, the adrenaline, like the
Yeah.
I don't want to say instant gratification, but we had the ability to make people better quickly,
Yeah.
for the most part. But one day we had gotten in this little old lady from the nursing home, and she was confused, as they often are. But whenever you have somebody who has quickly become more confused, you have to look at certain things. So one of those things is looking for an infection. Does she have an
Hmm.
infection? Part of knowing whether somebody has an infection or not is getting their temperature, and an oral or an axillary temperature is not accurate on the little old people. Okay, so that
Yeah.
leaves another orifice souther than your mouth. So we
Oh my
there were
God.
a lot of people. I don't want to say a lot. There's probably like 3 or 4 of us in the room. It
Yeah.
was what we were assuming was going to be a code sepsis. So we have a lot of protocol things that have to get done within a certain amount of time. So we kind of just go in and like pit crew, tag team, and get all the things. So
Right.
part of that was getting a urine sample via catheter, and we got to get a rectal temperature. So we had just finished getting the catheter done, and I don't care how confused, how not with it you are, if you are completely unconscious, I'm going to speak to you as if we are locked eyes, like if
Yeah.
that you are right there with me. So I'm
Right.
explaining to her everything that I'm doing and why we're doing it. And a couple of my friends helped me turn her over and like, okay, Miss so and so, in just a second, you're going to feel some pressure in your bottom. And the next thing that happened was, so I stick in the probe, and she said, in her most pleasured voice, she said, "Oh, Frank." And I was paralyzed. Like,
Oh my God.
I couldn't comprehend what had just happened. And she was such a little sweet old lady, but you knew that Frank had been places.
Frank had been places.
Poor sweet lady had, oh my gosh,
Wow.
poor lady. So yeah, I
Oh,
reminded her of her yesteryears with that rectal thermometer. So that was the first video that I ever did that was like over a million. And I was nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, why is this the one? Why is this the
what do you
video?
mean? Why is this the
Oh my
one?
gosh. I know. But like up to that
I know.
point, I felt like I was putting
Yeah.
out really like cool content. Like
Wholesome.
I'm gonna like this headboard that's behind me. I made,
Oh, I know.
and I was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, this is gonna be like the thing that makes you go viral. No,
No.
it was the rectal Frank.
Rectal memories. Yeah.
Rectal memories.
My gosh. And you just haven't slowed down since.
No,
I love when you share stories about your job. And I love, I mean, I've been watching literally years. I've been watching you, which is
same.
crazy. How long have you been on? Has it been like 3 years?
It's got to be 3 years. I was trying to
Yeah.
do the math in my head, but I feel like you were my very first friend.
Oh,
Like, yeah.
we went live. I don't think you'd been live. I think we went live on TikTok.
Remember, you took my live virginity.
I
Remember that?
did. And
My cherry.
we were in different places because we used to go live like once a week. I
Yes,
don't even think I could do that now if I tried because my
I know.
kids are wild and now like you're busy all the time.
Yes, and
I don't know how you do it all.
I have a love hate relationship with how busy I am right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I miss the simplicity of my life before,
Right.
but I've been able to do like really super cool things that I never thought that
Yeah.
I would. So like that's cool. But
Yeah.
the news was out at my house on Monday, and they were asking me like, "What are you gonna do? Like, what are you gonna do if it all goes away?" And I was like, "I'm gonna be just fine," because
Yeah.
I remember before this, and I
Yep.
was fine and happy before this. TikTok has only added to my
Yeah.
life, you know,
Yeah.
and
I've
I'm
just,
grateful for it.
yeah, just enjoy the ride.
Yeah,
Whatever happens, take it as it comes. And
exactly.
yeah, if it's gone tomorrow, then it was like one hell of a chapter.
Absolutely. And I see people on TikTok who are getting really, really scared and bent out of shape and like, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
But I feel like when you put that much of your worth
Mm,
into what other people think of you, or how much of your worth is tied up in
yeah.
accepting uh praise from other people, you know?
Mm,
Because I feel like
yeah.
that's the best. I don't want to say best part about TikTok, but the best part about being a creator is like seeing how many people like you and like how many people's lives you affect positively. And, you know, that's a
Yeah.
wonderful, awesome thing. But you have to be your own independent lady on your own and
Yeah.
know that your worth exists there more than it does on the interwebs.
Yeah. And that was a really big, like this year, I was like, I'm gonna like put boundaries on myself to just like, if I don't put out a video for 3 days, it's okay.
Yeah.
I think you kind of fall into that, like, people expect something. And so even if they don't, like, you think they do.
Oh yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So if you've been posting like like for like 2 years, I posted like almost 7 videos a day.
Same. Oh my gosh. I go back and
That's,
I look and see, I'm like, you were a crazy lady.
that's
That's how I feel about
insane.
myself.
But it didn't feel insane at the time. It felt fun and whatever. But I think you just get like, I started to get kind of burned out on that schedule because it's just too much.
Yeah. I also think that when we were doing those things, the
Yeah.
world was shut down, you know, like
Yeah.
we had really no other outlet.
Yeah.
There wasn't like, oh, I'm going to lunch today. There was, you were eating
Right.
peanut butter and jelly and some true fruit at the house, you know?
Yeah.
So
No,
I
you're
think
right.
that we had so much more free time to put our ideas and our thoughts and our whatever out in the world. And now that the world is kind of opening up again and our kids are getting older and they're doing more things,
Yeah.
it's just hard to keep that up.
Absolutely. It is. And yeah. And then priorities kind of shift. So once everything else starts getting busier, it's like, okay, this kind of has to take a step back.
Yes,
It can't be at the same level I was doing it. And that's okay.
absolutely.
So I want to talk about Hot Mess Express. Is it
Yeah.
Hot Mess? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Jen started this entire thing. I don't know
Yeah.
what should we call it? Is it
I don't, it's becoming a nonprofit. So it's
okay?
almost a
That's what I was
nonprofit.
going to ask. Like, what is there an official title to what this is now
It's
that
a,
you've been doing it?
it's an almost nonprofit. We can call it that.
Okay. You're
Some
in
sort of,
process of
yeah.
making it a nonprofit.
Yeah.
And so, well, I'll let you explain like what it is and what was the first, how did you get started with it?
Yeah. So I need to preface this by saying, in no way, shape, or form am I a cleaner, an organizer, or anything like that. That is not my wheelhouse. That is not anything. But
Nope.
I understand what it's like to be overwhelmed by the chaos of your home.
Mm-hmm.
I get that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're a part of any like Facebook mom groups, like locally or anything. So
Yeah.
I'm a part of one called the Triad Stay at Home Moms and Working Moms Chat. It's a very long name.
Very
But,
long group name.
yes, but it's basically the Triad of North Carolina. And there was a mom who posted anonymously in the group that was like, I really need recommendations on like cleaning companies that can come help me. She had postpartum depression. She had
Yeah.
a very young baby and a toddler.
Yeah.
The things that she was saying, like, I just felt, you know, in my soul for her.
Yeah.
And she said, I can't even really afford someone to come clean my home, but I have to. Like, I can't live like this.
Yeah.
And there were people that were commenting, like, oh, call so and so or check out this company or whatever. But I felt like everyone who was commenting was missing it. Like,
Yeah.
this is one of our own. This is
Right.
a sister who needs help. And
Right.
so I made a separate post and I was like, would there be anyone willing to go with me? And let's figure out who this sweet girl is and let's descend on her chaos with our own
Yeah.
chaos, and let's see if we can work together to help dig her out of her overwhelm. And
Yeah.
the response was overwhelming. And the group leader, Emily Coleman, I reached out to her. I was like, I know this is kind of like against the rules or whatever, but can you talk to that girl and see if
Yeah.
she would be cool with you telling her identity so that I can get with her? And like 8 or 9 of us had never met each other before, met in a McDonald's parking lot, car pulled over to her house, kicked her
Yeah.
whole family out in a loving way. We were like, I'd like taken up some money and we sent them out to go have a fun day together. And while they were gone, we completely, from top to bottom, cleaned her house. We went to Walmart and got groceries. We made freezer meals.
Wow.
And to see the look on her face before we did it and after, I knew that we were onto something, like
Yeah.
that this is important.
Yeah. This is needed.
Yeah. And, I can look around my house right now, like literally, and feel overwhelmed. So
Same.
I know the relief that it gives when you don't have
Yeah.
to deal with.
Yeah. That was like when I had just come home with Levi, who's my youngest. He's 2 now, but when I had just come home with him, due to scheduling and stuff, my husband had to go back to work like right away. I'm talking like a day or 2 after I got home with 2 kids during a pandemic. And my mom and sister came over and held the baby and I napped. And while I napped, my sister like did some laundry, did the dishes. And I just like, I mean, I was pretty hormonal, but when I woke up, I just sobbed because it was like just that jump start I needed to feel like, okay, now I can start kind of like getting into a routine because I didn't know how I was going to do that stuff when I had all this other stuff to do. So it helps you immensely when someone just does that little bit.
And it's hard even to like let someone into
Oh,
your
yeah.
space, and
Yeah.
I think that is the hurdle that a lot of women that we help have to overcome in order for us to even
Yeah.
come in there. But I tell them the same thing every single time that we first walk in, because there is like a tangible anxiety that they have.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
your first instinct is be like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Like, oh, let me move this. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I was just cleaning this up. Or, oh, the kids were just, and
Yeah.
I hold their shoulders and I say, we are here because we know what it's like to
Yeah.
be exactly where you are. And we are here because we wish someone had been there for us. And so
Yeah.
there's
And
nothing that can happen here that's going to surprise us, catch us off
yeah.
guard. Like we are it just taking away that judgment portion, because a lot of
Yes.
people are used to maybe like a mother-in-law coming over and be like, well, those dirty drawers have been on the floor for 3 days,
Oh, the laundry's still there.
That's
That's so
crazy.
nice. Mm-hmm. Well, and I think I try to encourage people to just drop that altogether, that apologizing thing when you have
Oh,
like
yes.
people come over, because you're just saying like, especially when they give excuses like, oh, the baby hasn't been sleeping, I'm just really tired. It's like, you're just saying, please don't judge me.
Yep.
I'm
That's
like,
exactly
I
right.
wouldn't. Yeah. And I would never.
And I think that is how I really felt like drawn to you, because you so eloquently have been able to throw off the
Mm.
judgment that you've maybe had for yourself. Like you
Yeah.
realize that judgment that you had no place in reality. Like
Yeah.
there's no purpose for judgment from yourself or from other people. So what's the point?
Right.
So I
Yeah.
think that seeing you normalize normal, right? Like whenever
Mhm.
you show what real life is like, I was like, I felt free. I felt so much more free to, show my own stuff. And even if
Yeah.
it's not like house stuff, for me to talk about, like marital problems or, things that are taboo, You know, I think that that is the biggest thing that you and I have both been passionate about, is kind of busting the doors down to things that
It
people
just,
shouldn't talk about.
it lets so many people in. I mean, I'm sure you have found that too. When you share something, like it's almost like the more vulnerable, like the more people are like, oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
yeah. And you share a lot of, like, you talk about your marriage, you talk about your body. You've been very open. You had plastic surgery, you had
Yeah.
a mommy makeover, and you documented that whole but what I really liked about that, have you ever gotten hate for that?
Really very little.
Okay.
Because I don't act like I haven't had. There's some people who like
Yeah.
they've had stuff
Mm.
and they're like, "Look, I've been in the gym," and I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
"No."
I also feel like, though, it's what you prefaced it with, if I'm being honest,
Yeah,
because you were so open about how you could have never had that plastic surgery, and like you had to learn how to like love your body
absolutely.
exactly as it was. And I remember specifically something you said is you would like sit in front of the mirror
Hmm.
and be like, I love my stomach and it is
Yep.
hanging down over my pants, but I love that stomach.
Yep.
And like what made you, like, what started that journey for you?
I think that it had to do a lot with comparison and
Yeah.
me seeing, you know, people on Instagram on the beach or like
Dang
my mom.
Instagram models.
Oh, come on! Like I saw
Yeah.
this unattainable goal
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and I felt so hopeless that I would never be that. And
Yeah.
it consumed me. Like
Mm.
I was bummed. Like I don't know
Yeah.
another way of saying it. Like just that this was the existence I was forced to deal with, right? Was
Yeah.
what I had. Um but back in 2019, Brian and I split up. We had bad time. We were no
Wow.
good. We were no good. We're back together now and much better. But
Yeah. All good now.
when that was the first time I'd gone to counseling, right? So because I was
Mm.
like, I can't make it, you know.
Yeah.
So went to counseling. I had this beautiful counselor named Shamika, and she was very much like call you on your bullshit kind of stuff.
Love that.
And yeah, at first I hated it. But
Yeah. No, yeah.
then I realized that she was doing me a favor. But um,
Yeah.
I was asked a question from her that kind of rocked me. And the question was,
Mm.
who are you? Which seems like a silly question, you know, like,
It's a big question.
yeah. So I answered it the way that I thought that I was supposed to. Like, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a
Yeah.
whatever. Kind of the way that I introduced myself today.
Yeah.
And she said, that's not what I asked you. And I was like, but didn't you know? Like, isn't that what you asked me? And she said, I didn't ask you who you were to other people.
Oh,
I want to know who you are. And right? And I was
yeah.
like, uh-oh. That was my initial thought. I was like,
Oh.
I got nothing. I got
Yeah.
nothing. So
Mm-hmm.
I remember just sobbing because you take those things away from me, the three things that I identified with being a wife, a nurse, and a mom. You take those
Yeah.
things away, I'm empty. I have nothing left.
Right.
So
Right.
Shamika sent me on a journey of self-discovery, and part of that she gave me homework, and so I still have it on my mirror, but she
Oh.
wrote down these self-affirmations for me,
Mm-hmm.
like 5 that were just very applicable to where I was, and she wanted me to say them naked in front of the mirror, and I was like,
Wow.
girl, no. But she had me thank parts of my body.
Ooh. Love
Yeah.
that.
And whenever you think about like what your body has done for you instead of seeing it as like a burden or whatever, like
Yes.
I was really self-conscious about my belly because it got stretched and it got deflated and it got stretched and it got deflated. And I've
Yeah.
been all weights of my life, you know, like I've been every
Right.
And when I would look down and see like it hanging over my pants,
Yeah.
It wasn't the, you know what? I'm so grateful for that. It was like, oh my God, that's so disgusting. But when you
Right.
switch that in your mind to thank you, like, thank you
Mhm.
for stretching and not exploding, like, thank you
Right.
for
Right.
holding my baby safe. Like, thank
Yeah.
you for allowing me to be whole, a whole person. And like, when you switch it from the mindset of like, this is a burden to, wow, I'm so grateful. And even like my
Right.
titties, man, like my titties be long. They were long John Silver's.
Swing low, sweet
That's
Cheerio.
right. And I was so upset about it, but
Yeah.
you think about, man, these
Yeah.
these are amazing. Like, they
Yeah.
made milk that
Right.
sustained my babies for over a year of their life. Like, I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to ask them to do that. I didn't have to do
Right.
favors. Like, just the fact that my breasts were able to do the things that they were. I mean, how cool is that? Women are
It's
amazing.
so cool.
Yeah.
It's so
So
cool.
I I told Shamika from the jump that I wanted plastic surgery. And
Yeah.
she's, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. She said the
Yeah.
only time that it would be wrong is if you're doing it because you hate yourself.
Ooh. Yeah.
If you're doing it because you already love yourself and it would make you feel more confident than you are,
Yeah.
then that's when it's okay to do. So I went through this like journey of, self-discovery and self-love and self-care, that
Yeah.
allowed me to be in such a good place whenever I got the surgery that I
Yeah.
thought I was Jennifer Aniston, Jennifer Lopez, all the
Yeah.
Jennifers that are fancy, because man, I was like, yeah, because it allowed me to have more confidence instead of feeling like I am,
Right.
because the other thing is like, if people have surgery when they're wanting to not hate themselves anymore, you
Yeah.
find more things to
More
hate.
things.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then it becomes a vicious cycle.
Yep.
Man, I'm
100%.
so happy. I'm so happy with my body and what it's done for me. And I'm also happy and thankful for Dr. Coley. He's a
Yeah.
good guy.
Good old Dr. Coley.
That's
We
right.
appreciate you.
He did good things.
Well, I love that because I think I mean, I don't know how kids today fare because I didn't grow up with like, it was hard enough just being like existing and comparing my body to people right in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot imagine like just being bombarded with images all the time of
Oh, yeah.
things that aren't real, honestly, because everything's filtered or edited. So I think it's really important to be grateful for what your body can do
Mm-hmm.
versus, necessarily what it looks like or what is like the beauty standard of today.
Absolutely. And middle schoolers today are built different, because I did not
They sure are.
look like that. Like,
Like those videos that show like 13-year-olds now and they're
right?
like so cool. And then they're like 13-year-olds like when I like making music videos in my room.
Absolutely, that was me for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank goodness. 'Cause
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
not
I
fair
was
for these girls nowadays, because I could not compete with that.
no.
I
Like
can't
you guys
compete
are
with that now.
I was about to say they're so much cooler than me.
I
Now I can't pull that off.
know.
I can't pull that off. So you're a labor and delivery nurse. I'm going to jump into that. How long? Well, okay, so you're an emergency room nurse. Now you're a labor and delivery nurse. So how long have you been doing that?
I've been a nurse for 11 years, which blows my mind. Like, I just feel like
Oh
an
my
amazing
gosh.
person. I know, it's so long. I remember thinking, oh man, when I'm like a nurse for like 10 years, like I'll have it all together. Or like looking around for like more adult nurses, like you're in a
Yeah,
situation,
yeah, yeah.
who's the most senior one, and you're like, this is me.
Oh,
Dang
it's
it.
me.
Um, but yeah, I did emergency department for 6 years. The last year of that, I was the assistant director of the department, and that sucked. That
Mm,
sucked real bad. Um,
yeah,
it was a lot of stress
a
for
lot.
not a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And there was like one night where it was so bad. because I was in staffing a lot. So it wasn't like I was
Yeah.
just sitting in an office and like being, email Kathy, but
Right.
I was in the trenches with everyone else
Yeah.
and doing the office stuff too. So, I was in triage one night where everybody, comes to tell their story about why they're in the emergency room. You're making life and death decisions about people, trying to decide who's the sickest. And there were 30 people that I was responsible for that were in the lobby.
Wow.
And I'm having to make those decisions. And there was a long wait.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
it was an 8-hour wait to go to a room, just a room to see a doctor. And
Wow.
I was getting called the B word, the C word, A, B, C, D, E, F, G word. And there were some really traumatic things that got
Yeah.
brought in that night. And I was like, I can't do this anymore.
No.
It was just sucking my soul out.
Yeah.
I felt myself losing my compassion for people. And I think
Ooh.
that is one of my favorite parts about me is that
Yeah.
I feel like I'm able to kind of be an empathetic and compassionate person. And whenever I felt that leaving my body, I was like, oh, this is like my warning sign that I've got to get out of here.
Yeah.
That night, I looked on the jobs page and I found a labor and delivery nurse position that was just weekends. And I was like,
Okay.
Because at that point I was working like every single day. It's like
Yeah.
2 days a week and
Yeah.
babies. That sounds good. One
That
thing
sounds-
that threw me off was like in nursing school, I was not about labor and delivery because there was too much lochia, and lochia is the wetness that comes out after the baby's born. It's just too wet, right? It's not about it, and not in a good way. It freaked me out a little bit.
It's too wet, too moist.
Very, very moist department. So,
Oh my gosh.
I wasn't like super jazzed about that part because at nursing school I was just like, ugh. Because keep in mind, in nursing school I was like a virgin. I was a virginal lady, and so like all that happened in the downstairs area, I was not ready for that. So,
Right.
but I was so ready to leave the ER that I was like willing to try it. And then I shadowed. So this was on a Friday. I found the job. I shadowed on Sunday, and then had the job by the next Friday because I went in on that Sunday, and I was like, oh, like it was so awesome. I remember crying in deliveries and stuff, like a little weenie. I still cry sometimes. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
I think like when I look back at my experiences of my 2 hospital births, which are my only births, my labor and delivery nurse was like such a key, integral, like vivid memories of her, what she did for me during the whole process. Like, I think it's such an important, like it can make or break your birth depending on how your nurse is. So I think it's such an important job. And I'm so glad you are one because I just know you're like excellent at it.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. I feel like I'm in my zone. I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
Okay, so all right, so you are, what I like though is you're labor and delivery nurse, and then you talk about your job a lot on the internet. And you talk about important, hard topics, including like one of your most recent videos that I saw that I was like, good for her, was talking out about like race and how you treat your patients differently and in a good way.
Yeah.
And what kind of made you like, cause that can be scary. I feel like when have you ever worried like, oh, this could be a problematic video. Like, what if I lost my job over something like this? Or have you always just been like, nope, I have a big platform. This is important and I'm going to speak on it.
I think that there are certain things that are too important not to talk about. And if I was to lose my job over something that is very important, I would feel righteous in doing so. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
I would be okay with
Yeah.
losing that for that reason, you know?
Yeah.
I would never want to intentionally like put my job at risk, but I have a pretty supportive workplace. So
I was going to ask, like, are they, I mean, obviously they have to be aware because you have a huge platform, but
yeah.
obviously they don't have a problem with you talking about your job on the internet.
One thing that I don't do that I see a lot of nurse creators doing is I do not TikTok at work ever,
Yeah.
ever, ever, ever.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Because I just think that's a big no-no.
Yeah.
Big no-no.
Yeah. Don't do that.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of losing my job for a good reason, I guess.
Yeah.
Not that I would ever want to ever lose my job, you know, because I love what I do.
No,
Yeah.
no.
But
But
like
I think,
talking about like
yeah.
Black maternal mortality,
Yeah.
so important. So important.
Yeah.
So and I really was super nervous to
I wondered if you were. I was like, this is
yeah,
a big, and I agree, it should be talked about. And I was glad to see you talking about it,
yeah,
and using like your voice and your platform. But I
yeah,
was like, yeah, people will probably have opinions about this.
yeah. Because the video that I made, there could be
Mhm.
snippets that could be taken out of context. Like,
Yes.
I'm a labor and delivery nurse and I treat my Black patients differently. Clip. Like,
Right.
you know,
Yep. Yep. That's it. Bloop.
there
Let's
were,
post that all over.
there were news articles that were written about me in that video. And it said, this labor and delivery nurse treats her Black patients differently. And she's getting
Yeah.
praised for it. Like, that sounds bad. You know,
It's
that sounds terrible.
tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So,
very clickbaity.
very much so. So, but, you know, if anyone ever had something to say about that, like, you know, you could watch the whole thing. But
Yeah.
you know where my content that like that does creates the most controversy? Facebook.
Like, I was about to say Facebook.
Yes.
Shocker there.
Sucks, man. Like these racist old people, there's a bunch of them on there. And
That's where they hang out.
when you talk about, you know, trying to reverse maternal
Yeah.
mortality for the population of people who is affected by it the most, Black women,
Mm-hmm.
woo-wee, people be getting hot.
Yeah.
I got called, what was it? A racist bitch. I was like, dang, that's some big words. But you get people who are like, you know, well, why don't you treat all your patients like that? I treat every patient of mine with exactly what they need, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
It's
so,
like Black Lives Matter versus
yeah,
all lives matter.
yeah, like you have to look at what that person needs.
Mm-hmm.
Just like if I had a patient who I knew had been sexually assaulted, I'm going to hold her with even more care
Right.
than, you know, somebody who has never experienced that before. Although I do try to treat everyone with the knowledge that they may have trauma that I don't know about, you know?
Right.
But just like if I have a diabetic patient and a not diabetic patient, I'm not going to not check my diabetic patient's blood sugars because I'm not checking the other one. You know, like
Right.
you have to look at the individual person and be able to assess their needs and be able to implement things based on their specific circumstances. And for Black women, that specific circumstance is that they are statistically more likely to be harmed in childbirth and beyond. So,
yeah. And just denying a problem does not make it go away.
oh yeah.
So
Absolutely.
yeah.
And
But
so
I just want to, like, I think it's really cool that you use your platform in that way.
I appreciate that.
And you say a lot of important things. You also swaddle chickens, so you keep
That's
it
also
light and funny.
Also important.
But I think a lot of people don't, for fear of they don't want to upset part of their audience.
Yeah.
And they don't speak about anything political, or they don't speak about anything like that. And I think it's I think it's really cool that you do. So I just want to
appreciate that.
do that. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Well, we are nearing the end of the conversation, but I wanted to, I do a little segment where I have like an Ask Emily, and tonight it's Ask Emily and Jen.
Yeah.
So I asked on Instagram if anyone had any questions. So I think we kind of touched on it earlier, but because we both kind of do this, I'm going to go with this, which is, how do you let go of the guilt of like your house not being picture perfect all the time? Because we both show off our house and we both talk about like our hot messness of ourselves.
Yeah.
So what kind of like what helps you with that to not be, I don't want to say bothered, but like to let it go?
Yeah. So for me, it is assessing my children for the type of humans they are becoming. Is the state of my home negatively affecting their kindness, their ability to be empathetic towards others, their compassion? Because as a mom, I get the mom guilt about your house. I get it. But our biggest job as parents is to raise not assholes.
Yep.
So
that's the
if
goal.
I'm doing that okay,
yeah,
I feel way better about my inability to be a super badass homemaker.
Yeah.
You can't do everything great, you know?
You can't.
You can't.
Right?
So
you can't. That would be not fair.
No. All these good looks, all the cleanliness of my body, my hygiene is just always top notch. So and for people who don't know me, it's not true. So
it's not true.
My kids are release me of that guilt and they don't even know it.
Which is a really cool way to look at that, because I think that shifts, because I feel like that is the reason sometimes people feel guilt, or people put guilt on you, like you're letting kids grow up in like a messy house or whatever.
Yeah.
I like that you're like, that's a shift in thinking like that, because it's very true. It has no tie to who you are like as a person.
Exactly. I think that we're using the wrong measuring sticks to determine whether we are good mothers or not. Because the laundry at the end of my bed that has been there for over a month does not make does not make my children less cool kids. You know, like as long as I can make sure that they are that I'm teaching them how to look out for people and how to recognize when someone's hurting, and how can we meet people where they are. One of my favorite things to talk to my kids about is providing them with the emotional maturity to assess others' emotional maturity, right? So if like somebody comes home and they're like, "Mommy, so-and-so was mean to me," we talk about that conversation and we talk about what would have been going on in that person's mind in order to have lashed out in the way that they did. And so it allows them to kind of have the things that I feel like we all wish we had as kids, that ability to see past the outer and see someone for what's going on inside. Because words hurt. And like when kids are mean, it's awful. But if you're teaching your children compassion and empathy, and whenever, just like when we get hate on the interwebs, you and I have both responded in the same way, like, I am so sorry for whatever, whatever's going on in your life that you feel the need to really be that involved in my life, that, So I think that we need to pick a different yardstick to measure ourselves by, and cleanliness of our homes is not the thing.
I agree. I totally agree. Your definition of success, I mean, that's different for everybody, but mine has never been that I have a perfectly clean house.
Oh, never. Me neither.
Well, Jen, I love you.
I love you, and I'm so glad we did this.
I know, me too.
I want to
thank
come
you
back
so much.
if you'll have
Okay, will you? Yeah, because I feel like we could talk for 3 more hours and delve into like a million different topics. This was a get to know Jen. We're going to have like a parenting episode. We're going to dive in.
Yes.
You'll be back for sure.
Please invite
But thank you all so much for listening to Keeping It Normal. And I will see you next week. I'm going to link all of Jen's socials on here, links how you can get involved with Hot Mess Express and more. So make sure to check all of that out. And I will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.